The bargain Jake Miller wiped the sweat from his forehead as he walked through the ship graveyard on Nexus Prime. Twin suns beat down mercilessly on the sprawling marketplace, where aliens from across the galaxy came to dump their unwanted vessels. Rusted hulks and twisted metal stretched as far as the eye could see. He kicked at a piece of debris, sending it clanging across the rocky ground. His work boots were worn thin from months of salvaging parts from dead ships. The credits in his account were running low again. Maybe enough for a decent meal and a night's sleep in the cheap quarters near the docks. Another day, another disappointment, Jake muttered to himself. The big ships cost millions of galactic credits. Even the smallest fighters were priced beyond his reach. He was just a human salvage worker, picking through scraps while alien traders made fortunes. Most days, he found enough spare parts to keep himself fed. That was about it. Jake paused near a section he had never explored before. The ships here looked different, older. Strange symbols were carved into metal that gleamed despite layers of dust and rust. Warning signs in dozens of alien languages covered most of the hulls. At the far end of the row sat something that made him stop completely. It was shaped like a pyramid, about the size of a small transport ship. The surface was covered in geometric patterns that seemed to shift when he looked at them directly. Thick chains held warning beacons that flashed red in the dim light. "You looking at the death trap, human?" Jake turned to see Vex approaching. The four-armed trader had been working this sector for decades. His blue skin was marked with scars from countless deals gone wrong. Two of his arms carried a scanner, while the other two gestured dramatically. "Death trap?" Jake asked. Vex laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "That thing belonged to the builders. Ancient race. Been extinct for 10,000 years, maybe more. No one knows how their ships work. Someone must have figured it out. Oh, they tried." Vex's four eyes gleamed with amusement. "The Crystal people bought it first. Brought their best engineers. Ship wouldn't even power on. They returned it after a month." Jake walked closer to the pyramid ship. The warning beacons flashed brighter as he approached. "Then the Ravens tried," Vex continued. "Thought their warrior minds could crack it. 3 of their pilots went inside. Only one came back out. He was babbling about voices in the walls. What happened to the other 2? Still in there, far as anyone knows. Ship sealed itself up tight. Wouldn't open for weeks." Jake reached out and touched the hull. The metal was warm despite being in shadow. For just a moment, he could have sworn he felt something pulse beneath his fingers. "The Hive Mind Collective tried last year," Vex said. "Thought they could interface with it directly. Their drones got within 10 feet and just ... stopped working. All of them at the same time. So why is it still here?" Vex shrugged all 4 shoulders. "Can't sell what nobody wants. Can't scrap what nobody can cut. It just sits there, taking up space in my lot." Jake walked around the ship slowly. It was about 40 meters long, perfectly symmetrical. No visible weapons, no engine ports, no landing gear that he could see. It simply rested on the ground as if gravity held no meaning for it. "How much?" Jake asked. Vex stopped talking and stared at him. "You're not serious." "Dead serious." "How much?" "Human. That thing has killed or driven crazy everyone who tried to fly it. The smart money says it's cursed." "I'm not smart money," Jake said. "I'm broke money." "How much?" Vex was quiet for a long moment. His scanner arms twitched nervously. 500 credits. That's scrap metal price. I just want it gone. Jake's heart raced. 500 credits was almost everything he had, but something about this ship called to him. While Vex continued listing all the reasons buying it was suicide, Jake placed his palm flat against the hull. The reaction was immediate. Symbols along the surface began to glow with soft blue light. Lines of energy raced across the pyramid's surface, following patterns too complex for his mind to follow. The warning beacons stopped flashing. "By the void," Vex whispered. "It's never done that before." Jake felt a strange tingling in his mind, as if something was gently probing his thoughts. Not invasive or threatening, more like a curious child meeting someone new. The sensation was oddly comforting. "I'll take it," Jake said. "Human, you're making a mistake that will probably kill you." "Maybe. But I've been making small mistakes my whole life and staying poor. Time to make a big mistake and see what happens." The credit transfer took only minutes. Vex kept shaking his head and muttering in his native language. As soon as the payment cleared, a section of the pyramid's hall simply vanished, revealing a doorway that had not been there moments before. "Well," Jake said, shouldering his salvage bag, "here goes nothing." He stepped through the doorway, and the ship welcomed him home. Behind him, Vex was already walking away, eager to distance himself from whatever disaster was about to unfold. He never saw the doorway seal itself, or the way the ship's internal systems began waking up for the first time in millennia. Jake Miller had just bought himself a ship that would change the galaxy forever. He just didn't know it yet. First contact. The inside of the ship was nothing like Jake expected. Instead of cramped corridors and flickering lights, he found himself in a circular chamber with smooth walls that pulsed with gentle blue energy. The air was clean and warm, somehow fresher than the recycled atmosphere on most stations. A single chair sat in the center, shaped perfectly for a human body. Jake approached it slowly, his boots making no sound on the strange floor. When he sat down, the chair adjusted itself to fit him exactly. Suddenly, symbols appeared in the air around him. Not on screens or displays, but floating in space like living light. Jake reached out to touch one, and information flooded his mind. Not words or images, but pure understanding. The ship's name was something his mind couldn't pronounce, but he understood its meaning. Hope Carrier. It had waited 10,000 years for someone who could understand it. Someone like him. "Well, Hope," Jake said aloud, feeling slightly foolish for talking to a ship. "Let's see what you can do." The response was immediate. The walls became transparent, showing him the ship graveyard outside. But more than that, he could see energy patterns, structural weaknesses, even the emotional states of nearby aliens. It was like having godlike senses. Jake thought about lifting off, and the ship rose smoothly from the ground. No engines fired, no thrusters engaged. It simply decided to fly, and gravity let it go. "This is impossible," Jake whispered. The ship's response came as gentle amusement in his mind. For humans, perhaps. For builders, it was simple engineering. They left Nexus Prime behind and entered open space. Jake had piloted small ships before, but this was different. He wasn't controlling the vessel so much as partnering with it. When he wanted to go faster, they accelerated beyond anything he thought possible. Space bent around them in ways that made no sense. "We need to test you properly," Jake said. "Find somewhere safe to—" Red lights flashed across his vision. The ship was warning him about something approaching fast. 3 massive vessels dropped out of hyperspace directly ahead, their hulls black and bristling with weapons. Raven, Empire ships. A communication signal forced its way through the ship's systems. A harsh voice filled the chamber, speaking the common galactic language with a thick accent. "Unknown vessel. This is Commander Zek of the Raven Third Fleet. You will power down and prepare to be boarded." Jake's blood went cold. The Ravens were warriors, conquerors who had crushed dozens of worlds. They showed no mercy to anyone who opposed them. "I'm in neutral space," Jake replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "I have every right to be here." "You pilot builder technology," Zek snarled. "That ship belongs to the Empire by right of conquest. Surrender now or be destroyed." The 3 Raven warships spread out, surrounding Jake's much smaller vessel. Each one was easily 10 times his size, armed with enough firepower to level a city. Jake had stumbled into a trap he couldn't possibly escape. Or so he thought. The ship's consciousness touched his mind again, and suddenly Jake understood. Hope wasn't just advanced. It was a weapon of war designed by beings who made the Ravens look like children with sticks. Last warning. Human, Zek broadcast. Surrender or die. Jake felt something cold and hard settle in his chest. These weren't pirates demanding cargo. They were Empire builders who would take his ship and probably kill him anyway. He had spent his whole life being pushed around by people with more power and credits. Not today. You want this ship? Jake said into the communicator. Come and take it. The Ravens opened fire immediately. Dozens of energy beams and plasma missiles streaked toward Hope from 3 directions at once. Jake braced for impact, certain he was about to die. The weapons never touched him. A shimmering barrier appeared around the ship, absorbing every attack without effort. The massive energy discharge that should have vaporized him simply vanished into the defensive field. Jake felt Hope's weapon systems come online. He didn't know how to use them, but the ship did. Ancient targeting systems locked onto the Raven vessels with predatory precision. Impossible. Zek's voice crackled over the radio. Nothing can stop Raven plasma cannons. S again, Jake replied. Hope fired once. The beam that emerged from the small pyramid ship was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. Pure white energy that made space itself seem to bend around it. It struck the nearest Raven warship dead center and passed completely through the hull as if it were made of paper. The massive vessel simply came apart. Not exploding, not burning, just falling into perfectly severed pieces that drifted away in the void. The other 2 Raven ships immediately began retreating, their engines screaming as they tried to reach safe jump distance. Jake let them go. He wasn't a killer, and the ship seemed to understand that about him. Hope had demonstrated its power without unnecessary slaughter. But as the surviving Ravens vanished into hyperspace, Jake realized what he had done. Word would spread across the galaxy within hours. A human had destroyed a Raven warship with technology no one understood. He had just painted a target on his back that every power in the galaxy would want to eliminate. Well, Hope, Jake said as they watched the debris field slowly spinning in space. I guess there's no going back now. The ship's response was warm approval. It had waited 10,000 years to find a partner who would stand up to bullies. Together, they turned toward the stars and an uncertain future that would change everything. Asterisk. The hunt begins. News of the Raven warship's destruction spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Within hours, every major power knew that a human had somehow acquired builder technology and used it to defeat one of the Empire's finest vessels. Jake learned this the hard way when he tried to dock at Titan Station for supplies. The moment Hope appeared on their sensors, alarms began screaming across the facility. Security ships surrounded him before he could even request landing permission. This is Station Commander Rex, came the urgent transmission. Unknown builder vessel, you are not welcome here. Depart immediately or face defensive action. Jake sighed and guided Hope away from the station. 3 different alien governments had already placed bounties on his head. The Ravens wanted revenge and his ship's weapons. The Crystal Confederation feared that builder technology would upset the careful balance of power they had maintained for centuries. The hive mind saw Hope as a threat to their expansion plans. Looks like we're not welcome anywhere, Jake said to his ship. Hope's response came as images and understanding flowing through his mind. The ship showed him hidden databases buried deep in its memory cores. Information that had been waiting 10,000 years for someone to discover it. The builders hadn't disappeared or died out. They had transcended physical existence, ascending to a higher plane of reality. But before they left, they had seeded the galaxy with tests. Ships like Hope, waiting for a species worthy of their knowledge. Most races had tried and failed. The Ravens were too focused on conquest. The crystals were too rigid in their thinking. The hive mind was too collective, lacking individual creativity. Dozens of other species had come close but fallen short of the builder's requirements. Only humans had the right combination of traits. They were creative enough to think beyond conventional limits, aggressive enough to fight when necessary, and compassionate enough to show mercy to defeated enemies. The builders had been waiting for humanity to reach the stars. So you're saying I passed some kind of test? Jake asked. Hope confirmed this with warm approval. But the test was just the beginning. Now he had to prove that humans deserved the responsibility that came with builder technology. Over the next weeks, Jake found himself constantly on the run. Wherever he went, someone was trying to capture or kill him. The Alien Alliance had formed specifically to deal with the builder ship threat. 3 of the galaxy's most powerful military forces working together for the first time in recorded history. But Hope was more advanced than any of them realized. The ship could phase through solid matter, making it impossible to trap. It could travel faster than light without using hyperspace lanes, appearing and disappearing like a ghost. Most impressive of all, it could disable other vessels without destroying them. Jake discovered this ability during an encounter with a crystal hunting pack. 6 of their finest ships had cornered him near a gas giant, their weapons charged and ready to fire. "Surrender the builder artifact," their commander demanded. "You cannot possibly escape all of us." Jake was getting tired of being threatened. "You know what? I'm getting really sick of everyone trying to steal my ship." Hope responded to his frustration by activating systems Jake hadn't known existed. Energy beams lanced out from the pyramid vessel, but instead of destroying the crystal ships, they simply shut them down. Engines stopped, weapons powered off, life support continued, but everything else went dark. "What did you do to us?" The Crystal Commander's voice crackled over dying communication systems. "Gave you a chance to rethink your priorities," Jake replied as he flew away. But each escape only made his hunters more determined. Jake realized he couldn't keep running forever. Sooner or later, they would corner him somewhere he couldn't escape from. Or worse, they would target innocent humans to force him into the open. That's when Hope showed him something that changed everything. Deep in the ships, databases were the locations of human colonies scattered across the frontier. Small settlements trying to build new lives, often under the oppression of alien governments that saw humans as inferior. The Raven Empire had enslaved 3 human worlds. The crystals heavily taxed human traders. The hive mind simply absorbed human settlements into their collective. Jake had been thinking too small. This wasn't just about him and his ship. It was about what humanity could become with builder knowledge. "Show me how to help them," Jake said. Hope responded by teaching him to access the ship's fabrication systems. Within hours, Jake had produced devices that could enhance human ships, improve their weapons, and strengthen their defenses. The technology was simple enough for human engineers to understand, but advanced enough to level the playing field. Jake began visiting human colonies in secret, sharing builder knowledge, and helping them defend themselves. Each world he helped became a beacon of hope for humanity's future. But it also painted an even bigger target on his back. The Alien Alliance was no longer just hunting one human with a stolen ship. They were facing the possibility that all of humanity might gain access to builder technology. That scared them more than anything. As Jake departed from New Terra, a human farming world that now bristled with defensive systems, he received an urgent message from Earth itself. The transmission was encrypted with codes only humans would recognize. "Jake Miller, if you're receiving this, we need your help. The Alien Alliance has assembled the largest fleet in galactic history. They're coming for Earth. We have maybe 2 weeks before they arrive. Jake stared at the message in shock. They weren't just hunting him anymore. They were planning to destroy humanity's home world to prevent the spread of builder technology. Hope, Jake said quietly. How fast can we get to Earth? The ship's response was immediate and determined. They would be there in 3 days. The real war was about to begin. Asterisk. Humanity Rises, Jake, arrived at Earth to find the planet's orbital space buzzing with frantic activity. Human ships of every size and design were being retrofitted with builder technology he had shared through encrypted channels. The modifications were crude, but effective. Humanity's engineers had adapted the alien systems faster than anyone thought possible. Admiral Lisa Park met him at Luna Station, her weathered face grim with determination. She had been fighting alien oppression in the outer colonies for decades and knew exactly what they were facing. "Thank God you made it," she said as Jake's image appeared on her command screen. "We've got maybe 6 hours before they arrive." 10,000 ships. Jake, every major power in the galaxy, plus their client states. Jake studied the defensive preparations through Hope's sensors. Humans had built energy platforms around Earth, enhanced their existing fleet, and somehow managed to create a network of defensive satellites in just 2 weeks. It was impressive, but still vastly outnumbered. "How many ships do we have?" Jake asked. "About 800 combat-ready vessels, plus another 200 civilian ships with weapon upgrades. We're outnumbered more than 10 to 1. Jake felt Hope's presence in his mind, calm and reassuring. The ship had fought impossible odds before. 10,000 years ago, a small builder fleet had faced an entire galactic invasion and won through superior tactics and technology. "Numbers aren't everything," Jake said. "These aliens fight like they always have. Same formations, same strategies. They've never faced humans in a real war." Admiral Park smiled grimly. "That's what I was hoping you'd say." The invasion fleet arrived exactly on schedule, dropping out of hyperspace in perfect formation. Raven Empire battleships formed the center, their black hulls bristling with weapons. Crystal Confederation vessels took the flanks with their geometric designs and energy shields. Hive mind ships swarmed around the edges, thousands of small craft controlled by a single collective intelligence. "Commander," Zek's voice boomed across all frequencies. "People of Earth, you harbor a criminal who has stolen builder technology. Surrender Jake Miller and his ship, and we will be merciful in victory." Jake opened a channel that reached every human ship in the system. "This is Jake Miller. They call me a criminal for refusing to be their slave. They say I stole this ship, but it chose me freely. Today we show the galaxy that humans bow to no one." The response from the human fleet was immediate. Battle cries in dozens of languages filled the communication channels. These weren't professional soldiers. They were farmers, miners, traders, and colonists who had come home to defend their world. But they fought with a fury that caught the aliens completely off guard. The battle began with the alien fleet's traditional opening move, a massive bombardment designed to break enemy morale. 10,000 ships fired at once, filling space with enough energy to crack a planet. The beams struck Earth's defensive grid and simply vanished. Human engineers had created absorption fields that fed the incoming energy into their own weapon systems. The aliens' opening attack had just charged up every human gun in the system. "Impossible," Zek snarled over the radio. "No species masters builder technology that quickly." Jake laughed as he dove Hope into the heart of the enemy formation. "You never met humans before. We're fast learners." What followed was unlike any space battle in galactic history. The aliens fought in rigid formations, following battle plans developed over centuries. Humans fought like chaos given form, individual ships breaking off to pursue personal tactics, coordinating through intuition rather than commands, adapting their strategies moment by moment. Hope revealed its ultimate capability during the battle's climax. When a group of Raven ships surrounded a damaged human cruiser, Jake activated systems the builders had considered their greatest achievement. The enemy vessels simply stopped firing on each other and turned their weapons on their own allies instead. "What are you doing to our ships?" a Crystal commander demanded. Jake's reply was broadcast to every vessel in the system. "I'm showing them what they could be fighting for instead of against. Your crews are seeing through human eyes for the first time. They're realizing there's another way." It was true. Hope's most advanced system could share human emotions and perspectives with other beings. Alien crews suddenly experienced concepts they had never felt before. Compassion for enemies, the desire to protect rather than conquer, hope for a better future. One by one, alien ships began powering down their weapons, not surrendering, but refusing to continue a war they no longer believed in. Raven warriors discovered mercy. Crystal logic expanded to include intuition. Hive mind drones began thinking as individuals. The battle tide turned when an entire hive mind cluster broke from their formation and began protecting human ships instead of attacking them. Their collective had experienced human dreams and decided those dreams were worth preserving. Commander Zek, seeing his alliance crumbling, made one final desperate attack on Jake's ship. "If I cannot have builder technology, no one will." His flagship, a massive dreadnought, fired every weapon it had directly at Hope. The energy release was enough to sterilize a continent. Jake didn't even try to dodge. Hope's shields absorbed the attack completely, then reflected it back in a tight beam that disabled Zek's ship without killing anyone aboard. "The war is over," Jake broadcast to the scattered alien fleet. "You came here to destroy us. Instead, you've learned what we already knew. There's more strength in cooperation than conquest." Admiral Park's voice came over the human fleet channels, filled with wonder and pride. "All human vessels stand down. Maintain defensive positions, but do not fire unless fired upon." In the aftermath, something unprecedented happened. Instead of retreating in defeat, most of the alien fleet requested permission to remain in Earth orbit. Their crews wanted to learn more about these strange humans who fought with such passion yet showed mercy to their enemies. Jake floated Hope near Earth's moon, looking out at the mixed fleet of human and alien ships. The galaxy had been changed forever by one human who refused to accept limitations. What happens now? Admiral Park asked during the victory celebration. Jake smiled as he watched human and alien crews beginning to work together. "Now we build something better than an empire or confederation. We build a future worth fighting for." The real work was just beginning. Asterisk, a new galaxy 1 year later. Jake stood before the newly formed Galactic Council on the space station that orbited Earth's moon. Representatives from hundreds of worlds filled the circular chamber, their diverse forms a testament to how much had changed since the Battle of Earth. Admiral Park sat at the human delegation table, now wearing the insignia of the United Earth Fleet. Commander Zek occupied the Raven Empire's seat, his scarred face bearing an expression Jake had never seen before, genuine respect. Even the hive mind had sent individual representatives, former drones who had learned to think for themselves. "The motion before us today," announced the crystal speaker, her crystalline form catching the station's lights, "is the establishment of joint exploration fleets to locate remaining builder caches throughout the galaxy." Jake listened as various representatives debated the proposal. The Raven delegate argued for military applications of builder technology. The crystal representative wanted scientific research teams. The former hive mind individuals suggested using the technology to help recently liberated worlds. All of them were right. Jake realized that was what made humans different. They could see multiple truths at once, instead of being locked into single perspectives. "If I may address the council," Jake said, rising from his seat. The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew his story now. The human who had paid almost nothing for a ship and used it to change the galaxy forever. Some saw him as a hero, others as a dangerous revolutionary. Most simply saw him as the bridge between what was and what could be. "A year ago, I bought a ship for 500 credits because no one else could make it work," Jake began. "Today, we're debating how to share technology that could transform every world in the galaxy. I think that proves something important." He activated a holographic display showing Hope's interior. The ship had been extensively studied by scientists from dozens of species, though its deepest secrets remained locked to human consciousness alone. The builders didn't leave these ships as weapons or tools for conquest. They left them as teachers. Every species that has tried to use builder technology for domination has failed. But when we use it to help others, to build instead of destroy, it responds beyond our wildest dreams. Jake gestured toward the viewing ports, where mixed fleets of human and alien ships could be seen conducting joint exercises. Former enemies now worked together, their crews learning from each other's strengths. Over the past year, humans have used builder knowledge to heal war-torn worlds. We've shared medical advances that saved billions of lives. We've developed agricultural techniques that ended famine on 17 planets. We've done all this not as conquerors, but as partners. The Raven delegate, a warrior named Rex, who had once served under Commander Zek, spoke up. "The human speaks truth. My people came to Earth planning to enslave or destroy. Instead, we learned there was honor in protecting the weak. Our worlds are more prosperous now than they ever were through conquest." A crystal representative added her voice. "Our rigid thinking nearly led us to stagnation. Human creativity has opened new possibilities we never imagined. Art, music, literature, concepts we dismissed as illogical, now enrich our civilization." Jake smiled at their words, remembering his conversation with Hope just that morning. The ship had revealed something that would reshape their understanding of galactic history. The builders left coordinates to other caches hidden in Hope's deepest memory banks, Jake announced. Hundreds of them, scattered throughout unexplored space. But here's what makes it interesting. They can only be activated by mixed crews. Human intuition, Raven courage, crystal logic, hive mind cooperation. The builders designed their final test to require all of us working together. Implications hit the chamber like a shockwave. No single species could claim the remaining builder technology. They would have to collaborate, share discoveries, and trust each other with power beyond imagination. Commander Zek leaned forward in his seat. "You're saying the builders planned this? All of it? The war, the alliance, even your discovery of that ship?" "I don't think they planned the details," Jake replied. "But they understood something about intelligence that we're just beginning to grasp. Every species brings unique strengths. Alone, we're limited. Together, we're unstoppable." The vote was unanimous. Joint exploration fleets would be established immediately, with crews drawn from every member species. The first mission would launch within the month, commanded by humans, but crewed by volunteers from across the galaxy. After the session, Jake walked to Hope's docking bay. The ship had been modified with quarters for alien crew members who were training to work alongside humans. Jake found a group of young beings from different worlds studying builder schematics together, their different perspectives combining to solve problems none could handle alone. Captain Miller, called Tom, a human engineer who had become Hope's chief technical officer. The new cadets are ready for their first deep space training flight. Jake looked at the mixed group of trainees, humans, ravens, crystals, former hive mind individuals, and several other species. Each one had volunteered to crew the ship that had started a galactic revolution. "Where are we headed, sir?" asked a young Raven pilot named Mayada. Jake grinned as he settled into Hope's command chair, which had somehow adapted itself to accommodate alien crew members as well. The ship's consciousness touched his mind, warm with approval at how far they had all come. "Everywhere," Jake said as the ship lifted off from Earth's lunar station. "We're going to explore every builder cache, contact every isolated world, and build bridges across the entire galaxy." The builders waited 10,000 years for us to be ready. Hope pulsed with agreement as they accelerated toward the stars. Around them, the mixed exploration fleet fell into formation, humans and aliens working together as equals, united by a vision of what the galaxy could become. Jake Miller had paid almost nothing for a ship that no one else wanted. In return, he had given the galaxy something priceless: hope for a future built on cooperation instead of conquest. The adventure was just beginning. Asterisk.